What's up, guys? Sam here, and I'll be doing the Insights video for Friday, August 14th, 2026. So just finished making the video for the folks in the Mastering the Trade room, and it's been a little bit of a dull week, I think, from an index perspective. I think that there's a lot of individual stocks that are moving quite a bit on their own, but in terms of, looking at SPY as a broad measure of everything, very unexciting weekly candle. Somewhat to be expected after a very exciting weekly candle before. So a little bit of digestion, a little bit of consolidation, completely normal, but it does make things a little bit unusual. So I just want to share with you kind of the one thought that I had here regarding the SPY with that I shared with the Mastering the Trade folks, and then I'm going to show you a handful of picks here that I'm looking at to buy going into next week. So the thought here around SPY is that all of this is very bullish. Obviously, you had a big breakout here, a little bit of a continuation through the range, kind of a melt up dynamic going on, and the scores and all that stuff are completely fine and working. The takeaway that I got after making the premium video for the folks in the Mastering the Trade room was that the market looks good, but it would look good even if it pulled back, right? And so this is one of those situations where you have this really long coil, right? Very long month, weekly coil, and then you get the breakout, and you kind of start getting like this melt up kind of thing, right? But it hasn't pulled back. The pullbacks have been extremely shallow. I don't think any pullback has even pulled back to a daily 10, much less a daily 20. So a daily 20 might be out of the question, but the daily 10 might be in play. And as I look at it on another monitor, the daily 10 on SPY comes in at 769, right? 769. So what my point here before I get to the stock picks, which we'll do next, is this thing can pull back all the way to 769 and still be completely fine. And I think you have to gut check yourself and ask yourself, is that something that you're willing to sit through or not? If you're not willing to sit through it, the advice that I shared with myself and the Mastering the Trade room is, if you're not willing to sit through something like that, then the fix for it, for me, is really just to shorten your time frame. 15-minute, 5-minute, 30-minute charts. Shorten your duration. So instead of going out to the monthly series, I'm just going to use weekly calls, and then really just day trade around it. That way you can be flexible inside of a range, and you're not captured by swing trades that might still be perfectly fine, even if the SPY were to drop, $7 from here, which would again keep it perfectly fine. So with that long disclaimer out of the way, let me show you a couple things here that are showing up pretty highly on the list. I'm going to show you Merck. I'm going to show you USB. I want to show you Gilead, and well, I'll show you those, and then you can read this yourself if you wish to. These are the squeeze focus. This is looking at the aggregate scores of a lot of different time frames, identifying the time frame where there's a squeeze, and then tying it together with other things inside the market, right? So if you put all these pieces together, it ends up giving you a score for that squeeze, and it helps isolate some of the best stuff. I might even include Starbucks in this. So let's start here. Let's start with USB here. So I had been trading the regional banks in the room. I got out yesterday just because my position size was a little too big, and it's not something that I was all that familiar with to have a position size that big. So I did close out the trade, but you can see here on the sheet that the regionals are still lighting this thing up. Two of the best setups there are in the regionals, USB and KRE itself, which is the ETF. So they're completely interchangeable, I think, but this is just one of the better setups out there. Again, you probably want to buy a pullback on this one, a little bit deeper pullback, unless you're okay with, a pullback to the 21. But this is a pretty elite setup. I'll be looking to potentially play this one on my own via USB, more than likely. Maybe KRE. I might double dip next week. after we get a close today. Wells Fargo is another one that keeps popping up here. So this one looks pretty good as well. This one's more of the money center banks. And a very nice kind of consolidation pattern here with a potential breakout incoming. So I like all of these for calls because the IV is at 0%. So the daily chart here is pretty well aligned. Kind of just looking for squeezes that look like this that have been cross-checked across different things that matter for that time frame. So we looked at USB. KRE is a subset. You can trade either one. They're the same thing. We looked at Wells. Let's take a look at Gilead, GILD. This is one that I actually am trading in the room actively right now. And I could be flat wrong on this one, so I just want to start with a disclaimer here that even though I'm trading it, I could be flat wrong. But it's shown pretty good relative strength considering that biotech has been getting hit lately the last 2 days. And if you can excuse all the drawings, I don't typically have that many, but there's a lot of levels here. One thing I want to point out is that this thing was in a sell from back here. It goes into a sell, it triggered a buy here, goes up and down, does nothing, 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 and then is now triggering a secondary green buy, which is the stronger expression of the buy signal. So you tie that together with a pretty good looking squeeze. There's a 2-day squeeze, a 3-day squeeze, a weekly squeeze. So I think if, and then, not to get too creative here, but a little bit of an inverse kind of base here. So I'd like to see this thing get into about 140. I think that's a proper next level for this to test on Gilead. So those are the ones I'm kind of willing to put my name on for now. There are smaller time frame squeezes, like there's a 4-hour Coca-Cola squeeze, if that might be something you're interested in. It actually grades out pretty highly. But in terms of like daily squeezes that I wanted to share with you guys, these are kind of the ones that stand at the top of the pack. And as always, you can just pause the video and check these out on your own and see if you vibe with any of the ones that are on the list. But the ones that we talked about are the ones that I will be trading. All right, guys, that's my time. Thanks as always. Drop us a like, drop us a comment. It does help us out with the algorithm. Let us know what your pet's name is or if you have fed a squirrel today. And I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.
Hey traders, this is Sam with Simpler Trading. I want to thank you for watching today's video. Hopefully you found the information in it helpful. If you did, leave us a like, leave us a comment. It really does help us out with the algorithm. And if you want to see us trade live with our own real money and be part of the community, come and check us out at simplertrading.com.